I got to ask you, when did you discover boxing? When did you first fall in love with boxing?
When it saved me.
How did it save you?
I was a stupid, violent kid that was angry, not exactly know why I was angry. I'd fit in real good in today's society because there's a lot of angry kids out there that I don't think they know why they're angry. I was just out there getting in fights, and I got this stupid thing from that.
Can you tell the story of how you got that?
I was just running around doing stupid things, bad things. I hurt people, some people physically, but I hurt my family. You know, that's BS. You only hurt yourself. You know, that's a good way of, alibiing it. But if at some point the truth usually finds its way. I'd like it to look like I was just hurting myself, but it wasn't, obviously. So I was just out on the streets with kids that didn't grow up in the neighborhood I grew up. I grew up in a neighborhood where father was a doctor. And I walked down the street. The funny thing was down the hill was a very tough neighborhood called Stapleton. And most of the people down there on the corners wished they could get up the hill. And I wished I could get down the hill. So I went down the hill. And I hung out with all these friends that became lifelong friends. And I gravitated to that because I figured out later a little bit, but, I wanted family. We were a disjointed family. We were, my father was a doctor. He didn't have time for nothing but being a doctor. I think when you're great at something, you sacrifice something too. When you're really great at something. So great that maybe God made you great and you're too great for your own good. And I don't know, it took me to these stupid, dangerous places. Yeah. Dangerous for me, but dangerous for other people too, because I got to the point where I was doing robberies on the street. I was fighting everybody. And you know what the most dangerous part about it was? And I came to this realization on my own, all by myself. I figured out I was really as dangerous, these kids from the project, some of them, they got nothing. First of all, I learned you don't have to be poor to be poor. You don't have to be deprived of certain things to be deprived. Or because you, at least to think you're deprived. And I was poor in a way that I didn't have the only thing I wanted to have, him. Yeah. So here I am where I'm out there doing these things, and what made me I was more dangerous than some of these psychopaths. Well, I was a psychopath too, I guess, the way I was behaving. But some of these psychopaths that really had nothing, really would, they obviously would kill you. I was dangerous almost in the same way, but for a different reason. I know it's ridiculous what I'm about to tell you, but I figured it out because I felt it. I thought I was on a righteous path. I thought I had a right because it was going to get me my father back. Why? I mean, you're a scientist. You couldn't figure this one out because all the people that had him were injured people, fractured people, screwed up people in some ways, but hurt, damaged people. So if I get damaged, I'll get them. So I was on a crusade, really a righteous crusade, where I thought it was okay. I had permission. I had permission to do these terrible things, quite frankly, and to fight everyone. And I did. And then it came almost to a crash of doing all that, winding up in Rikers Island like an idiot. Not understanding the damage I did to this poor man that, he was a great doctor and he's got to see his son and hear about, you know what I mean? Like, God. I was out on that day, with the guys that I grew up with now, the guys from the projects, as I described, and I was with one of them who he's dead now. So I was with him, and we were we were in a neighborhood. The neighborhood we grew up that I hung out in, and he grew up in. Billy, he came from the projects, and we got into a thing where somebody cut us off. We cut them off. Jumped out to fight, and it turned out there's like 5 or 6 of them and 2 of us, and we fought. Right on the side, right there, only about a block from where I used to hang out. And maybe a block and a half, and right in front of like a Spanish bodega. And it really does happen in slow motion. I actually saw the guy. I was fighting the guys that I had to fight, and then all of a sudden I was able to get one guy out of the way a little bit, and I noticed the guy go into his pocket, and I knew why he was going in his pocket, and when he came out of his pocket, I knew what it was right away. It was weird because in the neighborhood, guys used to hang out. They were into this, they get into fads like right on the streets, and they were into at that time. They went into this cheap knife, but they thought it was. Well, we thought it was cool. It was a 007, and the cool thing, whatever, was that you could flick it. You could learn, and I learned how to flick, but I never carried a knife. But when my friends would have it, I would just, you learn you could flick it open. Not a switchblade, but flick it with your wrist. And I was like, here I am in the middle of this freaking fight, and all of a sudden, oh, it's a 007, and and so I'm like, you got to make a decision, and I got to split. I can either not do nothing, which didn't seem like a great, a great option. I couldn't run away.
Why not?
Because you got to live with yourself afterwards, and that's more difficult to live with than whatever it is at that second, because that don't go away.
You couldn't live with yourself running away.
It just don't go away. That thing, nothing to do with being brave.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with being brave. It's got to do with just common sense in life. That for me, whatever you're dealing with, it's over. It's done. Like okay, deal with it, good or bad, whatever. But you do that, that other thing. You're gone. That never ends. This thing ends.
Memory of you being, let's say, a coward in that moment, that never ends.
The only thing I had at that point in my life, in my stupid mind, was a reputation that I would stand up to certain things. That was like, and that for me was worth something, whatever, because I didn't feel any worth to anything else. That was the only thing I felt a connection of worth to. So
stood your ground. And
so I made a decision.
Yes.
I stood my ground, but I actually, things do slow down. They do. And I actually said, it's a 007. He's got to flick it. I didn't say, but he's got to flick it. I get a split second. Either, like I said, either I do nothing, whatever, or I get to him before he gets it flicked. Yeah. I went to get to it before he got flicked. And I just as I got close to him, I did him a favor. I walked right into a counterpunch. Because I cooperated with him. I went right to him, and just as he practiced more than I did with the 007, apparently, because he was like boom, 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 and anyway.
What did you think? What did you think that happened? That was all slow motion. Did you think he might die?
Yeah. Well, not immediately. Took me a minute. I'm a slow learner. I put my hand up. Right? Wouldn't you? I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
And it went into my face.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was gooey. Yeah. It was warm and gooey. And I was like, I don't know what this means, but I don't want to know. But I think I know. And
did you think about your dad in that moment?
No, what I thought about him was you don't know who anyone is until they're tested. And I learned that. Cuz used to tell me, but I learned it. He used to say, I remember one time, cuz I was a 17, 18-year-old kid up there and, thought I was whatever I thought I was. And he said, you got a lot of friends? And I said, yeah. Because, I was on the street hanging out with 100 kids at night sometimes on the street corner. So I was like, I don't know too many people that hung out with 100 kids on the street, on the corner on a Friday, Saturday night. And I was like, yeah, I got a lot of friends. He goes, really? Yeah, really. He said, how about if I told you you might not have any? Most likely you don't have any. And he goes, and then he just started this thing. He said, everyone's going to be tested. You, me, everyone. Because you don't know about nobody till they're tested. He goes, you know nothing. He goes, you know nothing until you know. Until something happens to test if they were really a friend. And then he told me this story about a guy. A guy came to him and he was upset. What are you upset about? He goes, I'm upset because I just lost a friend. After 20 years of friendship, we're not friends no more. So Coach looks at him and goes, let me ask you a question. What made you think you were ever friends with him? Mm-hmm. Now the guy gets insulted. He goes, did you hear me? He goes, I just told you, 20 years I've been friends with this guy. Why would you say that to me? Mm-hmm. He said, well, I'll say it again. What makes you think he was your friend? Mm-hmm. He goes, whatever happened in the 20 years other than chasing girls, because figured that one out fast, chasing girls and drinking together, and whatever else you're doing out on the street, whatever gave you the inclination that he was a friend? Yeah. He goes, when did he risk himself to be your friend? Yeah. When was it dangerous to be your friend?
When was the friendship tested?
When was it uncomfortable to be your friend? Yeah. And you know what the guy said? You can figure it out. You're a scientist. He said, today. Yeah. And today came for me. And today kept coming for me. Today. Yeah. And that day, my friend Billy, it turned out, I was fighting these, 5, 6 guys. And where was Billy? He was on a roof. He was on a roof. He was my best friend. And so anyway, they take me to the hospital. And here's the thing with my father. But one thing Billy did do for me when he got off the roof, thank God, he did. He dragged me into this bodega, laid me on the floor, and started putting towels. Right? And the towels, I vaguely remember this. They filled up with blood. Yeah. I mean, completely like drenched, like you put them under a shower. And I heard the bodega owner screaming, like, whatever. And everyone's screaming and there's chaos. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm calm. Weird. I'm like real calm. And I'm just in this place. Everything's calm. And all of a sudden I hear Billy, he's screaming, call the ambulance, call the ambulance, and nobody's doing none. Everyone's frozen. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to understand already. People get frozen in situations. People, the fear. It just paralyzes people. And I was going into a fear business. I was learning. I was getting a learning, early PhD. And
fear.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, genius. Billy, genius, really. Street kid. Yeah. He jumps up on a freaking counter, jumps over the counter, grabs the phone, calls 911, says a cop's been shot. Yeah. And forget about it. Yeah. It was crazy. All I remember after that, I'll tell you a couple things I remember. Lights, being put onto a stretcher, bounced around, rushed. I felt everyone's anxiety. except mine. I had none. But I felt everyone's anxiety, everyone's fear. Like it was all around me. It was like, wow, this is interesting. This is kind of interesting. I know that's stupid, but like, well, this is interesting.
You really have an eye for fear. That's fascinating. You're really studying it.
Well, I had no choice. I got introduced in a crash course, and they put me in an ambulance. And this is what I remember, to your point. I'm sorry it took so long to get to it. I am. Although I'll probably do it again before this conversation's over. But
It's all about the journey.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there, Pops. So I hear the cops say, we might lose him. And I'm like laughing to myself. I'm not laughing because I'm not John Wayne. John Wayne would have laughed. But I'm like, hey, lose. You guys are stupid. You know, I didn't say that. But I'm like, lose me. My father's the greatest doctor in the freaking world.
Yeah.
There's nothing to worry about. You people are all uptight and whacked out here with fear, and there's nothing to worry about. Dr. Atlas is my father. So anyway, so they're taking me to and they said, we don't have time. I hear a couple of things I remember. Don't have time. Take them and they take me to U.S. Public Health Hospital. Marine Hospital was called at the time, but U.S. Public Health. And it's in Stapleton, so it's close. Thank God. So they're taking me in. I hear them on the radio, you know, we're saying this stuff about we gotta move. And I start talking. And they're telling me don't talk. But I like to talk a lot, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm again, fear. There's no fear when the fear's been removed. It's the only time you're really free in life. And I know that sounds absurd, but really, it is. It's the only time you're really free in life. Yeah. I was when you're
close to death.
When you're devoid of things that normally hold you back, that normally influence you in ways that you know that are not of the influence that always positive influence. Where you're in a pure place, where mm-hmm. you're in a purely free place from all inhibitions, from fear, from anxiety, from joy. Joy can screw you up, and you're free from all these things. And I'm in this place, just
in the back of an ambulance. You're free.
I'm like, I said, just get me Dr. Atlas, and they say we don't have time. No. You don't. You have to get Dr. Atlas. You have to get him. This was the. You know what I mean? I finally freaking hit the number, and I'm not getting paid. And then all of a sudden, I'm out.
How many stitches?
Well, I think it was 400, 200 inside, 200 outside, or whatever it was.
It's a lot.
Hey, look, after 50, the number doesn't matter no more, right? Or whatever, 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, so I was fortunate. And of course, I was fortunate. They told me afterwards it missed my jugular literally by like a centimeter. I mean, whatever. And so then we wouldn't be having this conversation, obviously.
Well, I'm glad you made it.
Yeah,
that's another
I'm kind of glad too. And it just missed my eye, which thank God. It's bad enough I have a scar. Imagine me with a patch. I mean, it's enough that I got this freaking thing. And look, it goes all the way. You know, I mean, it's you know, it's pretty long, and I don't know. I was out, and then somehow I sensed like they had the curtain closed, you know, and it's amazing how vivid this is. And the curtains closed, and I see a shadow. I felt a presence. I did, and I felt him. He's a powerful guy, and I felt him, and I just see like a shadow, you know, and all of a sudden, the curtain gets pushed back. And I can't really see. It's dark and I'm, you know, out of it, but not completely out of it. And pushes the curtain back, comes in, and his hand, even though it's all bandaged, you know, whatever, but his hand surveys. It felt safe. And it felt warm and safe. I was happy. And he got there, you know.
Did he say something?
Yeah. Remember, I gave you a little bit of introduction to my father, right? You know him now a little bit, right?
Yeah. What did he say about the job?
He just said, this is what he said. I remember to this day what he said.
Yeah.
That I do remember. I don't know if it was 6 or 5 people, but this I do remember.
Yeah.
He said they did a good job. You're going to have a scar the rest of your life. And he left.